God is writing our story.
Hey, I'm Philip Pierce.
And I am Charisse Pierce. And we're the Pierces.
So I was raised in church from the very beginning, but it never really felt like I belonged. As time went on, I gradually just began to have this bitterness towards church and towards like people who went to church. You know, it was never that I stopped believing in God, but I just didn't feel like church was all it was cracked up to be. And as that began to fester and grow, right around that time, I also began to have some rebelliousness. When I had my first drink at 15, it was instantly the worst decision that I've ever made. It turned into blackout nights and not seeing anything wrong with it. I was in rehab before I was even of legal age to buy alcohol. I spent my 21st birthday in rehab. It didn't stick. I just kept on doing what I had been doing before. And it wasn't that it worked, it was just that it was what I knew, and it was what I was used to relying on. I began to have really terrible anxiety, really bad panic attacks, and through that anxiety, I just began to pray. And so as I became manic, I remember just pacing around my apartment, having conversations with God that were so casual. I knew I could talk to God. Regardless of my situation, regardless of anything, I knew that I felt better talking to Him. I began to see God showing me, I want you back. You know better. So moving on to about 2017, I had moved back to Arkansas and was really, really feeling the pull of God back to His home. Me and a friend, we went to the St. Patrick's Day parade. I felt something under my foot, and it felt weighty. It felt like a rock. And I looked down, and it was a coaster, of all things, just, that thin. I thought, weird, I wonder. I literally looked around thinking, what did I step on? Because it clearly wasn't this coaster. But I went ahead and picked it up. LakePointe City Church. Haven't heard of that one. It was so different from everything that I'd known. And it wasn't an immediate thing where I was just instantly like, I'm going to go every single week. It wasn't. And I'd be lying if I said it was, but I started coming bi-weekly. I was still drinking, and I was still unable to get out of my crap.
So my story is actually a lot different. We grew up in church. My mom was a huge advocate for LakePointe. Many of you know her, Barbara Grossi. After my relationship with my daughter's dad, we moved to Hot Springs and really, really started coming to LakePointe faithfully, but not necessarily practicing everything that was being preached. I was in multiple relationships that always ended in heartache for not only me, but my daughter. Waiting on God to bring a relationship that was wholesome and fulfilling in His eyes. I was in a relationship with a man that I ended up having a child with, and it was out of wedlock. Really going through a really hard struggle within myself of like, I know what I need to be doing, but I'm doing things my way, and I'm forcing things that I know wasn't right, but I want to be right, not waiting on God's timing, doing it on my timing, and just over and over and over, mistake after mistake after mistake. It hurt. Like, again, it's just heartache over and over for not only me, but my babies now as a single mom, living a really hard lifestyle that really I just would not wish on anybody. I remember I was in just this breaking point in my life where I just prayed and prayed and prayed, just saying, God, please, I just want to meet a man that is gonna lead us and guide us in your way. I would love to meet a good man in church. And I know that was just like a random request, but I was looking for men in all these different areas, and that was not where I wanted to meet them. So I would just really like to meet a good man in church.
So after a while, I joined the worship band and had begun to drum and had really gotten to feel that fire underneath my feet for God. One of the youth leaders was like, "Hey, do you want to help out with the youth?" Absolutely. Where do I sign up? To get you initiated, there is a lip sync contest in about a week and a half. You should totally go to it. All right, let's do it. So I decided to do Circle of Life from the hit movie Lion King, and I decided to dress up as Rafiki. So I went to Walmart and I created this whole outfit, painted my face, got a walking stick with some, gourds on it. I am ready to go. And I'm in the back and I walk up to the leader who's dressed in a suit and I say, "Oh, cool. What are you doing, like a Frank Sinatra song? That's awesome." And he cracks up and goes, "No, this is just for the youth." So literally throughout all of this, no one had told me that I was going to be the only grown man doing this at a youth event. And I thought that it was church-wide and for everybody. But let me tell you, I gave it my all, and apparently it worked.
I had a good friend of mine that I used to teach dance. She asked me to come to this Point Break lip sync battle. So I showed up and I had my babies with me, and the first act comes out and he's wearing this crazy outfit that he had the charisma, he had the show, he had the confidence.
She thought he's not monkeying around.
Found him on Facebook. I had seen him kind of in and out of church. He was drumming.
I get a Facebook message and I proposed to her 6 months in, but I still was unable to get rid of the junk that I was dragging around from the age of 15. She had helped me with that, but it was still the same conversations over and over. And not only was I doing this to myself, I now had a 1-year-old, a 10-year-old, and my fiance involved. I remember us having the final conversation, and we were engaged at this point. And I mean, we were like, 3 months before the wedding? I just finally said to God, like, I can't do this. And I'm done trying because I've heard everything, I've done everything, except just let you do it. From that moment on, I quit drinking. And I can say today that I'm 5.5 years sober. So, yeah, that's great.
For me, it was more of, I've done this before and I don't want to do this again. I don't want to put my kids through this again. And I remember just praying, like, God, he is everything that I want in a man, but here we have this hurdle that we're trying to overcome. And I remember just feeling this overwhelming, like, don't give up on him. Don't give up on him. He's a good man. Over and over and over, I kept feeling that and hearing that. I didn't really tell him that in the beginning because I did not want him to think like, oh, she's going to continue holding on to me because she knows eventually I'm going to do better and do right. I just felt in my heart like, this is one you don't want to give up on. He is a good man. He will be a good man. Just be still. Just be patient with him. Took some time and a lot of tears from both him and I, but we eventually overcame that, and together. It wasn't just him, it wasn't just me, it wasn't us, it was us together and God.
We have so many videos we could make on tithing, on sobriety, on managing the household, on treating your spouse, on how you treat your kids, on just so many different things that we've learned. We just thank God every day for everything that we have. And whenever we've decided to just chase after him in different situations and not rely on ourselves, that's the game changer. And what's been so cool is seeing our kids follow that too. Again, it's not special words that you just wake up and instantly know. It's the work that God's doing through you. And it just becomes evident. I know that we so often want that quick fix of something, but if you just wait, he'll give it to you. If you just wait and you ask, He's not going to forget about you, and he's not going to forget that you ask. He will remember.